Hello everyone, and welcome back to our channel, your trusted source for hard-hitting political analysis, in-depth South African news, and the truth behind the headlines. If you're passionate about accountability, transparency, and justice in South African politics, be sure to like, subscribe, and hit the bell icon so you never miss an update. Now, let's dive into the explosive scenes that rocked the National Assembly on Tuesday, May 27, 2025. This was no ordinary day in Parliament. What unfolded was a dramatic showdown between economic freedom fighters Member of Parliament Omphile Maotwe and the presiding officers, culminating in her forcible removal from the chamber after she refused to yield the floor during a presidential Q&A session. But this incident was about more than just timekeeping. It was a symbolic clash over free speech, executive accountability, and the deepening frustrations many South Africans feel toward President Cyril Ramaphosa's administration. So what exactly happened? During a highly anticipated session meant to allow members of parliament to pose questions to the president, EFF MP Omphile Maotwe took to the podium with sharp criticism, and she did not hold back. She accused President Ramaphosa of leading a government that has completely failed to deliver tangible economic growth. In her own words, "Your own government hasn't grown this economy by more than 2%. There is no economic growth that's going to happen in the medium term." That statement hit a nerve, not just with members of the ruling party, but with citizens watching around the country. South Africa's economic stagnation is not just a talking point. It's a lived reality. The cost of living continues to skyrocket, unemployment remains painfully high, and ordinary South Africans are left wondering when, or if, things will ever get better. But Maotwe wasn't done. She took it a step further, calling out the government's failure to protect the poor from the rising cost of living. She highlighted the crushing burden of escalating food prices, fuel hikes, and surging electricity bills. With boldness and clarity, she said, "You have not been able to shield the poor from the high cost of living." Her words resonated, but they also crossed a line for Parliament's leadership. Deputy Speaker Lechesa Tsenoli repeatedly attempted to intervene, urging Maotwe to wrap up her remarks. She had exceeded the time limit allotted for MPs during the session. But Maotwe remained defiant. She insisted that she had a right to speak and continued to challenge the president's leadership. After several warnings, and with tensions rising across the chamber, the deputy speaker ordered parliamentary protection services to forcibly remove Maotwe from the House. The EFF benches erupted. Members shouted, protested, and accused the speaker of suppressing legitimate dissent and shielding the president from answering tough questions. For them, this wasn't just about one MP going over her time limit, it was about the institution of parliament being used to silence voices who speak uncomfortable truths. This is far from the first time the EFF has clashed with parliament's leadership. Since its inception, the party has used confrontational tactics in the legislative chamber as part of its broader political strategy. From storming the podium during the State of the Nation address to protesting presidential speeches and walking out of budget votes, the EFF has positioned itself as the party of radical disruption, a voice for the voiceless, unafraid to challenge the status quo. But Tuesday's events raise fresh questions about the fragility of South Africa's democracy and the delicate balance between parliamentary decorum and the constitutional right to speak truth to power. To the ruling ANC and some opposition parties, the EFF's tactics are disrespectful, disruptive, and counterproductive. They argue that rules exist to ensure order and that every MP must play by the same guidelines, no matter how passionate their cause. But to the EFF and its supporters, these very rules are being weaponized to protect the powerful and suppress real critique. They ask, what good are time limits if they're used to shut down essential truths? Why should decorum be prioritized over accountability in a country where millions go to bed hungry? President Ramaphosa, notably, did not directly respond to Maotwe's critique during the session. But later that day, the presidency issued a brief statement. It reaffirmed government's commitment to economic recovery and social protection, but it lacked any direct engagement with the harsh truths raised by Maotwe. And that, in many ways, encapsulates the deeper issue here. The people are desperate for leadership that listens, engages, and acts, not just leadership that issues statements after the fact. With power cuts still ongoing, inflation hurting households, and youth unemployment at crisis levels, South Africans want more than soundbites. They want solutions. And it's incidents like these that show how much of a disconnect still exists between government rhetoric and lived reality. The removal of Maotwe has also revived a broader national conversation about the limits of parliamentary privilege. Is it democratic to silence MPs who refuse to follow the script? Or is this a necessary enforcement of procedure to maintain a functioning legislature? There are no easy answers. But what's clear is that the credibility of the National Assembly as a forum for meaningful debate is under scrutiny. If Parliament becomes a place where difficult truths are punished with removal rather than engaged with in debate, then we risk turning our democracy into mere performance, where real issues are buried under politeness and protocol. At a time when South Africa is crying out for bold, fearless leadership, Omphile Maotwe's defiance may have been undiplomatic, but it struck a nerve for good reason. Whether you agree with her method or not, the substance of her critique cannot be ignored. And that's where we'll leave it for today. What do you think? Was Omphile Maotwe right to push her time and challenge the president so directly? Or should she have stuck to the rules and found another way to make her point? Is Parliament doing enough to hold the executive accountable, or is it becoming a stage where tough questions are silenced? Let us know your thoughts in the comments below. And if you found this breakdown insightful, make sure to like this video, subscribe to our channel, and share it with friends and family who care about the future of South Africa's democracy. Thanks for watching. Stay informed, stay engaged, and as always, see you next time.